I am five-time world karate kickboxing champion Anthony Elmore. This video is titled Orange Mound World Film History. In this video, I found more democracy in white Germany than black Memphis. You see, in 1987, in this very room, we filmed the first kickboxing film in world film history. Our film was titled The Contemporary Gladiator. You see, let me tell you something else that happened. Right here in this house in Orange Mound, I became the first independent 35mm theatrical filmmaker in Memphis film history. You see, let me explain. You see, in 1906, SMPTE, or the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers, deemed the 35mm film the standard, whereas a 35mm film could be shown in almost any theater in the world. And those who made a 35mm film were only the big film companies, not an independent filmmaker like myself. You see, only major film companies produce 35mm films. You see, in 1929, MGM shot a film in America, right here in Memphis, called Hallelujah. Now this was a black musical, the first black musical that was shot by King Vendor, and MGM produced that film. Now, in 1957, there was a film shot where just only a scene was shot. It was called Face the Crowd. Now, in 1984, Canon Film shot the movie Making the Grade at Rogues College. Now, this is in 1984. Now we move to 1987. You see, now in 1987, right here in this very room, me, Anthony Elmore, a black man living in Orange Mound, I hired a black film crew to shoot an independent film. That means I had no Hollywood backing. I started making a movie right here in this house in Orange Mound. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to meet our African-American Shelby County Mayor, Lee Harris. And the reason that I want you to meet our African-American Mayor, Lee Harris, because he's an African-American that is our Shelby County Mayor. Now, this is what the Lee Harris website reads. Now, he's our Shelby County Mayor, and the website reads, quote, it says, the purpose of the Film and Television Commission is to initiate, recommend, and or support policies, programs, projects, and events that support the film production industry. The commission is overseen by Executive Director Lynn Sittler. You see, our Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris was not born until 1978. I have a child older than him. You see, when I started shooting my movie in 1987, Lee Harris was only 9 years old. Now, what happened in 1987, however, Lynn Sittler got hired as our Memphis Shelby County Film Commissioner, and I was her first client. I was the first person in Memphis film history to produce an independent 35mm theatrical film. I made the first film in Memphis film history called The Contemporary Gladiator. Now, what happened was, Lynn Sittler used her function and authority to obscure black Memphis film history. You see, I want to take you to 1987. You see, in 1987, it was huge news for anyone in America to make a 35mm film. You see, in Memphis, Tennessee, Lynn Sittler made sure that no one knew an independent 35mm film was being made in Memphis. She never visited our film set, and when the movie was completed in 1988, she did not even attend the premiere. You see, from 1987 until to date, in 2024, we have never been invited to anything film related. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to kind of look here. You see, I want you to look where the Memphis Shelby County Film Commission office is located, almost adjacent to the National Civil Rights Museum where Dr. King was assassinated in 1968. Now, 20 years later, I was the first Memphian to write, produce, direct, and star in the first independent film to grace Memphis movie theaters. Now, this is what Shelby County and Mayor Lee Harris is not respectful of. You see, I was born in 1953 under Jim Crow America, whereas I could not even walk in the front door of the Malco movie theater. Now, even though I could not walk in the front door of the Malco movie theater, and Dr. King get killed here in 1968, 20 years later in 1988, I was the first person in Memphis film history to make an independent film, and I sat down with the owner of the Malco Theatre, Mr. Steve Lightman, to screen our 1988 Memphis-produced film called The Contemporary Gladiator. In fact, we made Memphis film history by doing such. And this should be exciting, and this story should be told. However, under Mayor Lee Harris and other county mayors, Leon Sittler from 1987 up until today, she used her function and authority to make sure that this part of Black Memphis film history, or this part of Memphis film history, goes untold. See, she did not want it not made known in Memphis. It is not known in Memphis that the first independent film, or the first film made by a Memphian, the first independent 35mm film, was shot right here in Orange Mound by a Black producer about a Black story about a Black world champion. However, in the city of Memphis, this is obscured. I want you to first of all look here at the Memphis Shelby County Film Commission office of Leon Sittler. Now, although we made the first independent 35mm theatrical film in Memphis film history, we are nowhere to be seen because, you see, in Memphis, they do not practice democracy. You see, Memphis is not a place of democracy where it is equal and fair for everyone. You see, because I am an African-American filmmaker and I was the first, and Leon Sittler did not want it made known, then what she did was she simply used her power and function and authority as a film commissioner to erase Black Memphis film history. Now, just look at the wall. Whereas they are funded by tax dollars, whereas Leon Sittler will not acknowledge Memphis Black film history and the largest, most populated African-American city in America. It is not just Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris. We have a majority Black city council and a majority Shelby County Commission who are African American are Black elected officials. You see, in 2007, Leon Sittler and the Shelby County Historical Commission put up a historical marker at the corner of G. Patterson and Main Street. And what they did was they acknowledged Jim Jarmusch 1989 film called Mystery Train as Memphis' first independent film, and they used their function and authority to erase, to absolutely obscure black history. And what you have in Memphis is an undemocratic culture, whereas no one would say anything, even though if you present the facts to them. In Memphis, it does not matter facts. You see, years ago, the Wall Street Journal defined Memphis or described Memphis as a backward city with a plantation mentality, whereas they don't have to wait on white people to do things because they got black people now who discriminate. And this is certainly evident that last year in 2023, the world saw, whereas Vice President Kamala Harris came to the funeral of 29-year-old Tyree Nichols, who was brutally beaten by 5 Memphis police officers, because in Memphis there is a plantation mentality, whereas a white woman like Lynn Sittler can put up a historical marker, she can erase black history, she can choose her own black hero. Look at the picture of her and Alonzo Woods. She created her own black hero and she made herself the hero, even though she never shot a movie, but she gives herself credit for film production or the film wave in Memphis, whereas she was able to erase black Memphis film history. And what you have is a culture in Memphis where African American leaders acquiesce to racism, white supremacy, and there's black on black racism. You see, Dr. Martin Luther King mentioned this when he said, silence is betrayal. And what you have here is that me, an African American filmmaker who is the first filmmaker in Memphis film history, my film history is being obscured, and you have a culture in Memphis whereas black elected officials are silent because they allow this to go on. Now, those of you who were living in 1987, I want to take you back to when I started production of my movie in 1987. You see, when we started filming my movie, The Contemporary Gladiator, President Reagan told Gorbachev to tear down that wall that separated East and West Berlin. Significant things happened in 1989. They tore down the Berlin Wall, and Germany purchased my 1988 movie, The Contemporary Gladiator, and they took that movie and put it in the German language, and they retitled the movie Kickboxing Gladiator. Look how beautiful of a poster the Germans made of me, how they made me a hero in Germany, whereas in Memphis, Tennessee, we are not even recognized. You see, in German, they re-released my movie and they called it Kickboxing Gladiator. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to see a scene from my 1988 movie, Memphis-made movie, The Contemporary Gladiator, and I want you to see a scene of how they dubbed the film in Germany. And the question you should ask yourself, how is it that a 1988 Memphis-produced film, the first film in Memphis film history, the first independent 35-minute theatrical film in Memphis film history, how is it that this story of a black filmmaker is not told in Memphis, whereas such a film is shown not only in Germany, but our film showed around the world. In Germany, they showed the whole movie and they dubbed the movie in the German language. First of all, let's look at a scene of our 1988 movie, The Contemporary Gladiator, in the German language.
Mann, du wirst besser einen Blick auf diesen Ring. Wenn ich dich da reingezerrt habe, werde ich dir die Titel abnehmen und dich ruinieren. Du bist zu hässlich, Champion. Du hast kein Format und bist hässlich. Ich sehe nur einen gelb karierten Obermacker, der völlig aus der Mode ist. Versuch mal was Modisches, so wie ich, handgefertigt, verstehst du? Das geht ab.
Du trägst ja noch immer Mama-Sachen.
Aber die sind schon uralt und passen nur zu einem uralten Boxer. Du hast keine Klasse!
Wir sind doch nicht hier, damit uns ein Idiot voll labert. Mein Mann spricht für sich im Ring. Komm, Wood.
Freundchen, ich blas dir den Marsch. Deinen letzten.
The 1988 film, The Contemporary Gladiator, is not only the first independent film produced in Memphis film history. The Contemporary Gladiator is the first kickboxing film in world film history. You see, Orange Mound is the birthplace of kickboxing film in world history. You see, in 1988, our U.S. Congress passed the Film Preservation Act, whereas the Library of Congress established the National Film Registry, whereas films are selected for preservation not as the best films in America. Instead, films are selected for their cultural, historic, and aesthetic importance. Now, we asked the new African-American Mayor Paul Young to just Google and do an online search of 5 words, Orange Mound World Film History. The mayor would learn about Black Memphis film history and hopefully recognize that Black lives and Black films matter. I am Anthony F. Elmore, Memphis' first independent 35mm theatrical filmmaker. Thank you very much.